All right, folks, we are live. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Made Easy with the Maxwell Group. We are here today with Steve Boehning and Greg Eddles, and we are going to talk about cryptocurrency. It's a very interesting topic, in my opinion, and it's something that is actually affecting the real estate market. It's beginning to. There was one of the first deals was done in Texas last year, where a home was purchased entirely with Bitcoin. So change is a-coming, as it always is. But let's start with you, Steve. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background with cryptocurrency and why we should believe you.
That's a great question. So my name is Steve Boehning. Basically, I've been around crypto now for about 5 years. Ironically, when I used to live up in Forest Highlands about 7 years ago, my buddy says, well, why don't we take $1,000 and put it into this Bitcoin thing? And I was just about to do that, and then my mom had some medical issues, and so I moved to El Paso to go take care of them. And I never bought the Bitcoin. So if you know the pricing back from then to now, the why is a lot of opportunity, but with opportunity, there's always risk assessment and what works and what doesn't. So really within the last 3 years, I've been involved with several international companies. Now I'm a professional network marketer, so I've been retired with that for a long time, but that just basically means everybody brings everything to me, and we can build a lot. But what I've discovered is where there's a lot of money to be made, there's also a lot of risk. And so learning the minefield of what can and can't be done is complicated. And I think that's what really, when Bitcoin exploded and jumped up to the high price and everything else, it was the year of awareness in 2017, the year of validation in 2018, and I think that 2019 is now about to move into functional use. And so I think there's a lot of lessons learned. A lot of people have been gained a lot and got hurt a lot along the way, but I think that now it's really going to step forward. So experience that I've been around is, like I said, with different companies. I'm not going to mention names. Some were profitable and some everything just disappeared, which happens in business, right? But now I think training and getting the information out the proper way and giving people tools to be able to tell the difference between what's real and what's fake is really where the focus is now, and that's where the people that I'm working with now, that's what we're oriented at.
Very interesting. And then Greg, I know you have a little bit different of a take on the entire market, really. I've seen some of the videos that you've done talking about, mining cryptocurrency. So tell us a little bit about that.
I started about August 2017, so I've only been doing this for about a year and a half, right? I started with a specific coin called Electronium because I found it to be fascinating. The age of the ICOs, right, is, I think, almost come to a close. The initial coin offering of Electronium was where I got involved. That's a whole nother subject in itself, but let's just suffice to say an ICO is kind of like an IPO for a stock. And it's the introduction of a company and their coin that they're creating and their blockchain, if they actually have their own blockchain. So I got involved there, and I started mining around, actually literally October 31st, about 5:30 p.m. It was my first experience. It was my first experience with mining, like with a CPU, right? And
Wait, what's a CPU?
Central processing unit, just the processor in your computer.
Okay.
And I say that in comparison to a GPU, graphics processing unit, which are really expensive video cards, and then like bigger machines that are used to mine.
Okay.
But anyway, CPU is very mining. That was the first time I got to do that. And I've learned a whole lot since then. We came in when it was coming up, and then around December, January, That's when everything started crashing down. So there are some serious lessons to be learned there. In the realm of mining, even investing, you buy it at here and it goes down to here. You're like, now you're holding it for a while. The same kind of goes with mining. With mining, we were basically, you use your electricity and your technology and a program on your computer to pull in. We'll talk about the details of that in a little bit. But if you get it, and it's not worth much, you can't really sell it on the exchange. So we've been affected. Miners are really affected by this as well. But a lot of people are just sitting in there waiting, just hoping that it's going to go back up, and they're accumulating right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been my experience. I've built a few mining rigs. I've sold a few mining rigs. I got rid of a few mining rigs because the electric bill is huge if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm just accumulating. So that's kind of my experience so far.
So by accumulating, you mean you own it and you're holding it and allowing the value to increase?
Well, yeah, we're watching the value.
Or hoping the value increases?
And so like with mining, you can do all kinds of stuff. Like you can mine a different coin, and if you're on various exchanges, you can take that coin and sell it on an exchange and then buy the one that you want.
Okay.
Or you could just buy straight out, go buy Bitcoin. You go to Coinbase. We'll talk about this too, but the complexities of getting into the marketplace. We'll just leave it at that.
Okay, so I have a really simple question. What is Bitcoin? What is cryptocurrency? What is it?
Who do you want to? Me?
Yeah.
Either one, yeah.
So
Love to hear both.
we all
takes,
know,
to be honest.
absolutely. So we understand banking and money and foreign currency, and you can carry so much cash, but you can't take it across border. You can't carry too much. Credit cards are pretty much everything. Bank transfers, bank payments, everything goes through the banking. Now, they don't pay us anything, but do you think they're making money on our money? Okay.
Of course.
And then we have all these regulations. Now, I can talk anywhere in the world for free today, right? But if I want to send you money, even if it's from my account on my phone to that phone, it's not so easy. Now, they're starting to set up apps to make that more friendly, but it's not easy. And it's expensive. And if I'm doing anything of any value, you've got to wait 2 to 3 days, and there's always fees. And okay, so the crypto world is not country-centric. It doesn't belong to anybody. It was initially back many years ago, 2008, 9, whatever that who you listen to. Gamers were making games, and that's how they paid each other. It was a virtual way to transfer value to each other. And then one day when Europe woke up and everybody had less money, then it became the rebellion of the black way to move money. So that was kind of how it all started. But now it's becoming more and more and more mainstream. It's not backdoor anymore. It's actually mainstream way to move money. So you can set up an account on an exchange, which just like the stock exchange, you can open an account, you can put money into it, and you can convert it, and you can buy stocks and sell stocks. That everybody's pretty well familiar with that. On the crypto world, you put your money in, and you can buy Bitcoin or an altcoin, meaning an alternate, and then I can send that to you, and you can take it, and so you can send money, but it's independent of all government and all regulation and control. Well, that's the good news and the bad news. But the good news is you can actually make the money on your money, and you can trade and work it just like he's doing right now, and many people are doing. You can actually trade and buy and sell on your own. And you don't have all of the regulations and everything in place, and nobody can really take it away from you. Okay? Not to mean that if you do that here in the U.S., you don't pay taxes on your money. That I'm not wanting to go to jail for anybody.
Right.
In U.S. citizen, you're required to report all income, foreign and domestic. Okay? So I want to put that out there because
apparently.
it's all virtual.
Yeah, they've already updated the forms, I believe.
Yeah, so the bottom line is it's not about being underhanded anymore. It's about taking control of your own money and being able to move it.
And efficiency.
Oh, completely efficient.
Well, and I think what's interesting too is that a Bitcoin, just to use the most popular one, a Bitcoin in the United States is the same thing as a Bitcoin in Mexico and a Bitcoin in Canada and a Bitcoin in Great Britain. So it, unlike other forms of currency, it has the same amount of buying power regardless of where you are. And that's something that I've found extremely fascinating, is watching, because it doesn't play by the same exchange rate rules as other currencies do. It doesn't matter, like you said, what country you're in, what country you're from. It just matters that you have the currency, so that's something I definitely find interesting.
So, Greg, can you tell us a little bit about what a blockchain is and what that looks like in relationship to a Bitcoin, and what does that mean for the future?
So the story, as I've heard it, is blockchain. Or Bitcoin was the first blockchain, 2009. Some guy using an alias named Satoshi Nakamoto, I don't remember. Satoshi is the key word there. He came up with this way to store transactions. Let's put it that way. Keep track of transactions. I think we should start with a basic definition of blockchain and Bitcoin in general. But blockchain is a ledger, first of all, which holds transactions. I give you something, you give me something. Bitcoin in this case, that's recorded in a ledger.
Okay.
Bitcoin blockchain is a decentralized, unhackable, that can be debated, but ledger that everybody has a copy of, and that's the reason it's unhackable. So let's just start with that. The benefits are that it's decentralized. There's no third-party banking system. It doesn't take 2 to 3 days. It takes a couple hours, maybe 5 or 6 hours if it's real busy, but that's still faster than 2 to 3 days, right? So it's decentralized. It's unhackable because in order to hack it, you'd have to log into every copy of all the miners that are holding their copies of the blockchain and change it. And that's next to impossible to do. You might as well call it impossible. So those are the two main things. So a blockchain is data, right? And it's made into a arbitrary number of data, like megabytes or whatever, how big that block can be. I don't know the specifics on Bitcoin, but the idea is this block fills up with transactions. And then in order to verify those transactions, people like me using mining equipment and a program are just basically letting these systems run. And you've seen like maybe a spy show or something where they're trying to like hack like the code or whatever, and it's going dink, and they get like one at a time, dink. That's basically what we're doing with
it's like a set of equations, isn't it?
Well,
in a way,
we're brute force discovering the hash that is assigned to a particular block of transactions. So it could be the Library of Congress in there, and not even transactions that are financial, and that hash code would be up there according to what the data is inside this block. So basically what we do as miners is we go in there and we brute force, like, guess the contents, and a lot of people are using their machines, and they're in other pools full of a lot of people that are using immense amounts of computing power through the use of their CPU, their GPU, graphics processing unit, and also what's called ASICs, application-specific integrated circuits. Basically boxes that are about 1.5 feet long by 7 or 8 inches, square, and they're filled with chips specifically made for mining blockchain, or a specific algorithm like Bitcoin. So, let's see, where was I at? We're basically verifying transactions using this technology and an enormous amount of electricity as well, which is kind of a whole other subject about the future of where blockchain and all the blockchains are going, because they require a lot of electricity to maintain what's called a proof of work algorithm, which is what I just described to you.
Okay.
Right.
So what's in it for you by mining, you accumulate Bitcoin that way. Is that right?
Well, it's kind of interesting because there's a lot of ways to approach it. Bitcoin is too expensive electricity for me.
Okay.
A lot of them are too expensive. In fact, all of them are not profitable right now.
Okay.
So then you start getting into what we would call speculative mining. Basically, when someone just launches a thing, like say you wanted to buy a bunch of penny stocks, they're really cheap. Well, it's the same thing with mining. They're brand new, so nobody's mining it. So you've got a lot of power compared to the whole pool. So you start getting a bunch of rewards for that. That's the speculative part. You may get 300,000, a million, 50 million of these coins, and they're worth like 0.000003 cents, right?
Okay.
But like those go to 1 cent, all of a sudden you've got some money, 10 cents, $1. That's the speculative part. So it doesn't have to be Bitcoin, and that's where that's where the big actual jumps can be. So if I have $1 million or so of one coin and it goes to $1, I've got $1 million. If I've got 3 Bitcoins, and it's say Bitcoin triples, you've got triple the amount of that. But what you were talking about earlier with Bitcoin being related to like these other coins, when the price of Bitcoin goes up, your altcoin prices go up too, pretty symmetrically.
Well, and I wanted Steve to kind of explain his metaphor because I think it does play here. So will you speak on that a little bit?
Sure. Everybody asks, okay, you got Bitcoin and then you've got all of these other different coins. There are 4 or 5 coins that are basically a level 3 or a category 3, meaning they're considered basically currency. Your Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum. And then you have all the other coins that are tier 2 or tier 1 that are just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the relationship is, well, how does all that work? So Bitcoin, if you did it in a parable, would be like the Christmas tree. And all these ICOs and coins that they're doing, they're kind of just throwing them like ornaments on the tree.
Okay.
Everything right now is bought and sold through the Bitcoin or one of those top coins. And so you have to have that as the core. If it goes up and down, everything kind of moves as a market, kind of like
It's almost like an
the
index
NASDAQ or the index, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So there are some relation ports there. When you're talking about mining, people say as soon as they think of it, they think of a pick and a shovel,
Right,
or a pan for gold. And just as he talked about, if you do X amount of computer work, then that's great. The blockchain only works if you have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of computers processing the data.
Okay.
Okay, why would people want to pay for all that expense, And the way they do that is, okay, great. If you put your machine out there and put it on the market and you do X amount of math, we'll pay you a virgin coin, meaning there's X amount of Bitcoin in the market, but there's a cap. Then once it hits that, there is no more.
Mm-hmm.
All the coins are the same way. So that's how new coin is introduced into the market by people who mine. And then they can take that mined coin, put it into the blockchain to make it a valid coin, and that's how you make money.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
So it's
that's the
almost-
relationship.
So you're doing work to get paid. You're mining data to get paid, wherefore the parable of crypto mining.
It's almost like if the Federal Reserve were to pay private citizens to print money at their house in return for a small portion of
What they print.
that's
fiat
also
currency in
Or the worth.
U.S. dollars.
The worth of that
Right.
But they're only
currency
allowed to
going
print
up.
so much. Because that was going to be my next question regarding mining is if anybody can mine as much as they want, why is it worth anything?
'Cause
But
it
that
costs
seems to,
money.
well, it costs money to do it, but there's also a cap on the number of coins that can be mined. Do I understand that correctly, or
there's 21 million Bitcoins, and I think we've mined,
I don't know the number.
I think it's like 14
There's
million
plenty,
or something.
there's more to be mined?
What's
is what
interesting
you're
about
saying.
Bitcoin too is that the value. I just saw this today, a graph where they talked about the halving of Bitcoin rewards. So the miners get a certain amount, and every certain period of time, it halves. So they get half of the reward they were getting before for the same amount of electricity. Every time that happens, Bitcoin becomes more valuable, and we see it it's doing this basically. every time it goes in half, it's kind of at the dip, and people are expecting that half to happen. And so now you're going to get less for the same amount of energy, therefore it creates more scarcity and raises the price. So that's the general mechanics of Bitcoin anyway.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So I just want to reiterate what I think I understand right now, is that the blockchain is an efficient way to move money around that's unregulated by a third party like a bank, and you can tell that money where to go, which creates efficiency, and it keeps people from using money that's supposed to go one place, and instead it goes to the place that it's purposed for. That's what I have learned that the blockchain
Can I
is.
maybe
Yeah, go for it. Add to it.
So cryptocurrency is that vehicle of moving the money.
Mm-hmm.
The blockchain is the backbone that everything moves on.
Okay.
And you'll see it on TV commercials. We're moving our insurance company to the blockchain so we can't be hacked.
Okay.
You'll see it on TV and commercials over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
The military is moving to it. All of them are moving to it because if you have tens of thousands of ledgers running in parallel and you try and hack it, can you?
Even if you get one, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, because it spits it out. So and you can hack accounts, but you can't corrupt the data en route. That's blockchain.
Okay.
And you got banks, insurance, military, everybody are moving to that vehicle.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The coin is not currency. Okay? It's in lieu of currency. By definition, a currency belongs to a country and is backed by gold or something and has its value based on that country's validation and the acceptance
and
of the World Bank
and all of that.
Blah, blah, blah. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So crypto is not actual currency.
Okay.
But you can take currency and buy crypto. You can buy Bitcoin at Bank of America and all this stuff. And even though everybody's boo-hooing it, price is down, and interestingly enough, you're going to start seeing it come out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that kind of clears all of the conversations we're talking about is how are people making money on it? Well, as it goes up and down and you can buy and sell on the predictions of whether it's going up and down, then you can trade on it. I tried that. I ended up with Tums and 4 empty cups of coffee and 4 computer screen.
Don't try
I learned it,
Don't
but
try
I
it.
don't ever want to do it.
Just
I mean,
don't.
God love the ones that can do that, right?
Unless you can sit around all day in your pajamas and
Yeah.
day trade and catch everything, otherwise don't try it.
So there's that component. But then you have the mining, and then training on teaching people how to do all of that is starting to come out in huge amounts. That's really where my businesses are oriented now, is teaching people how to practically use it and protect themselves. Okay, and then I guess really it's how can people get used to using something that is not designed to be user friendly yet. It's getting there, but if you make a mistake, who do you call?
No one.
Nobody.
Nobody.
Yeah, it's true.
There's no
not a
Bitcoin
forgiving-
customer service.
So there's dangers, but people like yourself in real estate and all the different main business sorts are starting to do it. Example, even the government. All this stuff talking about China and moving stuff back and forth. Well, now they're starting to use crypto to pay for it. Okay? Because it's faster, it's easier, the banks don't take whatever cut, and all of these other, so it's growing into mainstay. You'll even start seeing ATM machines starting to pop up a lot more. So with what I really like is what you guys have started here, and really making people aware that you can use crypto in doing business mainstream, especially for large purchases and stuff like that. It's much easier and safer. And
Well, we have a new advisory that we have. We don't currently have to have our clients sign it, but we have them sign it. That's a wire fraud advisory because there are more and more issues with transferring money. So I think that people should be more aware of what this is. And I think we all have questions about whether this is really here to stay. Is this something that is going to become, is the blockchain here to stay? Do you see that as the next step in our revolution, our technology revolution that we are foreseeing?
I absolutely agree. Yes, it is. Mostly because it's blockchain and because of the reasons stated, the decentralization, the unhackability, the speed. But let's talk about the speed for a little bit. You and I were talking earlier before we started all this about the Lightning Network that's coming out with Bitcoin. And there's actually people coming on board that are using that. The idea is to make it fast. Because right now, 5 hours or 2 hours or even 1 hour is not fast enough for us or the world to have instant payments, walk into a store, pay with Bitcoin, and then walk out knowing it's done. That doesn't exist yet.
Okay.
So the next phase that I'm seeing, and this is why I like Electronium, is they created an instant payment app. And basically what that does is allows them to do, it sends it sort of like the bank does, right? When you go in with a debit card, you know you put that in there, and you know the money's coming out of your bank in a day, maybe immediately, depending on who you use. The same thing is what Electronium is doing to overcome this. It becomes sort of a mixed network. It's not purely decentralized at that point, but Electronium will take the transaction and give you an instant notification that the transaction has been sent to the blockchain. So it's basically the same as us spending a credit card. I think every currency or blockchain that's going to turn itself into this type of usage is going to have to deal with that instant payment application kind of scenario, because there's just no way through. And just let me add one other thing regarding general investment in Bitcoin. It's complicated. This is another hindrance to a lot of people coming in and buying not just Bitcoin but any altcoin, because do your due diligence on any company you get involved with. We should always say here, don't spend any more money than you're willing to lose. Do not take any of this as investment advice.
Standard disclaimers.
So that goes for all of us here, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. But
don't dump all of your life savings into Bitcoin, Litecoin,
It's like going to Vegas.
Ethereum, Electronium, all of these different
Right.
things.
Yeah.
I think that the nature of its decentralization is its biggest draw, at least in my opinion, but it's also its biggest hindrance.
Well,
Yeah, well,
it's
it's
being
slow.
more
To an
and
extent.
more accepted.
Yeah, as it's become more and more. I mean, I remember when Bitcoin first came out, someone was like, "You should totally get in on this." And it was like $2 a coin, and I was like,
wish.
"That's not going."
Oh, I
anywhere.
wish.
And
That was still too much for me back then.
I would have figured out a way to at least buy
Hindsight, right?
10 of them. You know, I could drop a $20 bill on it. But, and then the next time I heard about it in the news, it was sitting at 15 grand a coin. I was like, son of
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
but I remember the guy who was like, yeah, you can even use it on Newegg, which is a site that I used to buy, computer parts and accessories from, and I was like, well, I mean, that's great, but I like to spend money in places that aren't Newegg. And at the time it was like one of 3 places on the internet that easily accepted Bitcoin as a form of payment. That's growing more and more.
Can I answer, add to what your basic question was?
Sure.
Is this for real and is it sticking around?
Yeah.
So, as we talked about, the mining machines draw electricity, and there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of them. So how about if we scale how big cryptocurrency is?
Okay.
Electricity is the number one biggest expense, the equipment, and of course cooling the systems, right, which is electricity. So if you took what all the mining that's currently in phase right now worldwide and how much electricity is used, and then you took how much electricity is used in the entire United States and Canada, they're the same.
Okay.
In other words, power companies love crypto.
Oh,
right?
yeah, I'm sure.
So you take all the electricity that powers all the business and homes in the U.S. and Canada, and the amount of electricity used in mining all around the world today, and it's the same. Does that sound like it's rinky-dink and maybe just getting started?
Well, it sounds like they're going to have problems as it continues to grow.
Technology improves over time. The AI
Absolutely.
computers, which is what he was alluding to the most, that is going to change it. Pretty soon,
Yeah.
what's a card this big and a big old box is going to be on. I mean, think about cell phones. Who knew that the computing power in this phone, even 5 years ago, would exceed what computers 5 years ago had?
Well, heck, the first iPhone had more computing and processing power than the entire array of machines used to put a man on the moon.
You got it. Now, how do you
incredible.
take crypto and make it mainstream? Which
Make it
again
usable
lends
immediately.
to how do you use it when you want to buy and sell stuff? Well, this is a BitPay card. It's one of many prepaid debit cards. Okay? And I can set up my account, and you go through KYC and AML, which is know your client and anti-money laundering law. Yes, this is me. Here's my driver's license. Here's my driver's license by my face. Here's a bill that says, yes, I actually am a real person. Okay?
I
That
exist.
you, in other words, everybody says, well, crypto is all for illegal stuff. No, actually, every transaction with a hash code can never be erased. It is point to point, absolutely verifiable, and never goes away. So if you're trying to do something corrupt, you
Yeah.
use cash or barter. Okay, but anyway, I can take Bitcoin on this case, and I can go on the account, and whatever the Bitcoin price is at that time, I can say I'm going to put $1,000 on this debit card, and I can use this anywhere you can use a debit card.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the functional use of crypto is becoming extremely mainstream. I think 2019 is going to be the massive expansion of that.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's an app that called the Cash App.
Yep.
Not a sponsor, but
Not a sponsor,
They
yeah.
where you can actually buy and sell. You buy and sell Bitcoin within the app, and you have a debit card that attaches to the app. You know, it's like Venmo on steroids. You know, an app where you can send money to people easily, regardless of whether it's a fiat currency or a cryptocurrency
There you go.
in this aspect. So you can literally turn your Bitcoin. You can hook up your Bitcoin wallet to the app, and you can cash in the Bitcoin that you have pretty much instantly and use it as standard American currency if you need to. So I do see the change on the horizon. It's very
I
fascinating.
think we're going to see a lot more of those type of transactions, and what you just brought up here. That's really what's starting to happen with all these alternate coins, and I think they're starting to realize it, because this is a perfect tail end to what I wanted to say. Right now, if any of you wanted to go out and get some Bitcoin, most people are going to start at Coinbase.com, make an account, go through all their KYC and AML there, right? And then once you've got your Bitcoin that you purchased, you're going to transfer that to an exchange. And depending on the exchange, you might do some more KYC and AML. And then you can trade in what you want to do. And then you want to get out, well, you're going to sell your altcoin back into Bitcoin. Then you're going to sell your Bitcoin back into Coinbase, your US dollars, and then you're going to pull it out of your bank. It's really complicated for most people. So what I see happening in the near future with things like your BitPay and things like Cash App and things like Electronium, and there's a bunch of people gunning for it, right, vying for it. I think there's room for more than one, but we're going to see a lot of these things start to come to fruition in 2019, 2020. And one of the really the biggest things that's going to push this marketplace, I think, is the investment from institutional, like companies, whatever, institutional investment into the space. Well, what I was doing some research, and we're just wondering, why is the Bitcoin crashing and crashing and crashing? Well, if you look at the people that are actually like saying, like in the contemporary financial news, oh, Bitcoin's going to zero, it crashes. But guess what they're doing? They're buying it, and then they crash it again, and they buy some more. So what we're seeing is
because
like,
there's no regulation saying that they can't.
No.
I mean
That's just
they're
market.
basically shorting it.
yeah,
In a lot of ways.
yeah, very
speaking of-
publicly.
but they're doing it in public which
They're not
you know,
saying that they're buying it though, but that's
Yeah.
what's happening. So just so
if
you
it
know,
was an
we've
actual
come way
stock,
down.
they'd go to jail for it,
Right.
for doing what they're doing with cryptocurrency.
I expect we're going to see a huge boost. There's something called BACT coming out, BAKKT, which has something to do with Microsoft and coffee.
Folger.
Starbucks.
Yes, and Starbucks.
I was like, you need coffee? I can make you a cup real quick. Get the brain jump started.
Among other very large companies that are coming on board, Microsoft is sponsoring this move to basically allow you, again, to be able to spend Bitcoin at like Starbucks eventually. It may not happen this year, but their launch date is mid-March, and they've been pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. A lot of the, I'll end with this. The biggest thing that's holding us up is regulation and what to do. Like the SEC is like, we don't know what to do with this. It's
Wasn't that the
manipulatable.
point to keep the SEC out of it?
Right, but like if you're going to play in the big boys games, you've got to do KYC and be anti-money laundering and have to like make sure that people are not going to lose their butts, you know, for reasons that are unacceptable according to current regulations. I mean, if you are dumb and you leave your password out for everybody to grab, that's your fault. Anyway, so we see a lot of this moving forward. I think 2019, 2020 is going to be incredible.
So one of the points that I am hearing from you with the when it comes to electricity and when it comes to the cost of running all of this mining, it kind of reminds me of the idea that maybe the government could get involved and try to subsidize electricity to make it more user-friendly if it's in their best interest and that they want to control it. Is that something that you could see happening?
Can I address that?
Sure.
With mining specifically, there's what we would call the 51% rule. If you get 51% of the nodes per se that are approving the blockchain transactions, you could technically, as a hacker, hack that and basically create your own blocks, and everybody else gets all messed up.
Okay.
But you can get money, and then you're on the run for the rest of your life probably. But they can do that. What's happening with proof of work in that 51% threat is they're now, Ethereum's doing this. They're moving to what's called proof of stake.
Okay.
And what that means is you will be allotted a certain amount of, transactional power according to the amount of money or Ethereum that you hold on the network. That's proof of stake, and it's another way to deal with it. It's not truly decentralized. It has some issues, but it also brings up, if you're holding a lot of money, you don't really want to damage that network that's worth money. And doing proof of stake does that.
Okay.
It prevents that, because it would be a problem. Anyway, that's kind of where it's
we're getting
headed
really
for
technical.
Getting real into the weeds, and I'm like, my brain's already a
since
little.
we're talking about
Hey.
electricity, it'll also reduce the electrical bill
Yeah.
tremendously, and that's got to be something that happens in the future.
Has to be in order for it to become a more
Yeah, because if
user-friendly.
it's not worth mining at this point, then
It's just us speculators out here right
yeah.
now.
Yeah, the
And I mean,
prospectors.
there's always risk and hopefully reward in being, an early adopter, and that's the risk that you're taking currently. Especially, it seems like with a lot of these altcoins, for mining them now, is you're taking a risk that you're going to get a pretty sweet return later on down the road.
For about $100 of electricity a month is
Yeah.
where I'm at right now.
Okay, I was actually going to ask you how much are
Yeah.
you spending on that? And
That's a pretty small operation. Yeah.
Okay. I have one
Wow.
more question. The vault. What does the vault mean? I've heard people talk about the vault. I have some money invested in Bitcoin. We have some in a vault. What does that mean?
Are we talking cold storage?
Yes, the
Okay.
vault.
So
The cold storage
you got
vault.
crypto is all digital, right? And again, speaking in answering that with a little bit more than a basic, but even think about all the Latin American countries. They're so small that they don't own their money. A World Bank owns their money, and the country borrows against it and they use it, which is why inflation is ridiculous. And So whenever they're moving and they're moving the entire countries over to crypto, they get away from all of that power and control over their destiny. So this is huge. Now, for the average person, and probably just to make this a lot simpler for those that are trying to understand what is crypto, whenever you put it on, I mean, we're in so much of a digital world now. Most people just carry cash for tips. They just don't use it. So we're already virtual. And now the apps are getting cleaner and easier to use, and all the different from PayPal to whatever. You can use crypto everywhere. Now, all of the Bitcoin or whatever you have can be on the network. Well, remember we talked about the blockchain wasn't hackable, but accounts are. Okay? So if I were to come up and say, what are the things that we do to protect our money? It's number one is go to two-factor authentication on everything. People say, well, I still have my email with my daughter's birthday. Yeah, that means you've gotten hacked. They're not even covert about it anymore.
No.
They're
really
like,
not.
we have 500,000 people working in our hacking facility. It's crazy. Okay, so what a two-factor authentication is either an app on your phone or something, or when you put in a password, it has to send you a text. There is something that you have to physically do as a person that somebody in another country can't to access that account. And your email is your number one vulnerability. Because if they can get in there, every time you open an account, don't they say, and here's your login and password, save this, right?
Yeah.
Well, if they have bots, tiny programs that can dig in there, can't they access? Okay. So that's number one. If I were to say, what do you do to protect yourself in our crazy digital world? Learn about two-factor authentication. You can just do it right on YouTube. Some people...
And stop using stupid passwords.
Oh my God. They say now to get a reasonably safe password, it needs to be 14 characters with letters, numbers, and symbols. And that's a reasonably safe password.
Well, think about it. We're able to brute force hack with all kinds of this power.
So
it's
the other component...
just point the laser.
Right.
Yeah.
So the other security component is when you have Bitcoin and it's on the network, somebody can find it. They can, everything is traced, right? Through the hash code, you can track everything. So they have devices that are on the new generation phones are actually a component within the phone, or it looks like a flash drive or a box or something.
I used to have one.
To
in my old career, I had this random password generator, and my password would update every 90 seconds.
Right.
So anytime I needed to log into my company email, I would have to turn this thing on, hit the button, connect it to my phone, get a new password, put the password in.
Well, in my previous life, I'm a satellite cell phone engineer.
Okay.
For Northern Telecom, Sprint PCS, and Qualcomm. So we were everything encrypted, and so I'm pretty heavy on the tech side. But these cold storage devices, you can take your Bitcoin, plug it in to a laptop or whatever, and you can pull it off the network and store it. And then when you unplug it, nobody has access to it. Now, if you lose it,
you're toast.
then
Done.
you've got
It's gone.
No.
Here you go.
Everything has protection.
Okay.
You have a list of words a mile long that you store in a safe or someplace else, and then if you lose it, then you contact the company, and then they say, okay, what's the 14th, 27th, 54th, and 19th word?
Oh, snap.
Okay.
All right.
And then it's like, okay, well, then you're you, because you have to have that piece of paper.
Yeah.
They'll issue you a new device, and then they'll kill the old one and move everything over. So
that's good.
understand that everything in crypto may be complex, but it's actually very well protected. And so are the people, if you're educated on properly, which again, that's why I say we're moving to education more than anything. But that's a cold storage device.
And I think a lot of people wouldn't even know what that even looks like. So I think it's
really
really great to know that.
It looks like a flash drive.
It's just a little flash drive.
And it's a complicated mess to set up the first
But
time.
it's okay. But
once you get it done,
I don't want
you're
to
glad to
stay
have
too
it.
heavy on that because, hey, My dad's 88 and he uses a smartphone now.
That's true.
Okay, so with crypto, we thought, well, but we all use smartphones now.
Yeah.
Probably way more than we should. But
Yeah. I get the little
You
thing
can
on my
learn
phone every Sunday that says how many
everything.
hours of screen time I did. And it's like, it makes me feel guilty every time.
so, and I think that's some of why they do it. But anyway, I just wanted to come out that it's doable, it's workable, and you can use it in business transactions.
Wow.
So much, and thank you guys both for coming in here today.
No.
I've learned a lot.
Don't you
most
use
of
it
which
in
I
real
will.
estate?
It has been
Has been.
used a couple of times, but the first full transaction involving crypto happened in 2018. Yeah, so it's still on the cusp. I know a lot of title companies are not very excited about having to learn a new thing as far as the payment method is concerned. But hey, they didn't like my desire to bring in a briefcase full of cash to pay for a house either. So,
Yeah, I think
Wow.
it's gonna be really interesting to see
How
how
this changes
collaborative.
everything.
Well, how collaborative people are gonna have to get, or independent groups of people that are gonna be in charge of making this more user friendly. Because I think there's the techie side, and then there's the education side, and then there's the groups of people that are going to kind of move it all together
Mass adoption.
Yeah.
and see the value of that in future profits.
it's like camping. It's
For those of you
intense.
guys who are still early investors or adopters who want to get involved, I don't mind if I plug this.
Oh,
a
you
little
sure
bit.
can. Go for it.
We're Tri-City Computers. I'm Greg. My son Zion is also there, my business partner. And we can help you if you want to do the investment now, Coinbase, to an exchange, to buy the stuff. And all we can walk you through that. We charge for that. That's consulting. But we're happy to do that and get you up to speed on how to do it for yourself. I am not like that guy that does your investments for you, but we'll show you how to do it.
Well, and Steve has some really great tools to offer too. You can plug your business too if you want.
Yeah, I
Well-
was about to ask you how we can get in touch with
Yeah,
you guys.
what can
before we
you
wrap
do?
this thing up.
Well, my company is Serve Many, so it's steve@servemany.com. You can access me anytime. The world that I'm in, we're working with people in Asia and all these others to put together programs to make things simpler. Okay, so right now, where I'm at right now is we're putting all that together.
Okay,
In
so you're
2018,
organizing.
we moved millions of dollars into launching a coin. It's the Bet Chip coin is now launched out and it's starting to hit.
That's BET, bet chip,
Bet
right?
Chip, right. Now, why do all of this stuff? And it comes back down to being mainstream. Why would businesses want to use crypto versus the credit card? Well, how many people, users don't pay, but every business pays fees,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
True
If you
story.
can do it on transactions on crypto, you can make money on the transaction and you avoid the fees. Well, think about the entertainment industry, network marketing, anything that's higher risk that they can call up the next day and say, I didn't do that. Okay. So those are paid, they don't pay 2 or 3% credit card fees. Some of them pay up to 8%.
Yeah.
So think about the big entertainment industry, casinos to hotels and all of that. They can pay up to 8 cents on the dollar for banking and credit card fees.
Yeah, no, it's
If they
pretty
could
crazy.
get it to where people could move some of that on crypto and reduce those, think about how many millions of dollars it drives to the bottom line. So this is pure economics. Okay. So I know that wasn't what you asked, but that was kind of one thing that I wanted to put out
It's
there.
not
This
what you
is-
asked, it's what you got.
I'm so sorry. But
No,
I
it's
think it's important to
perfect.
mention right now, as early adopters, we're watching the infrastructure get built on a global scale. So
Well, you're not just watching it, you're building it too.
Well, yeah.
In
I mean,
a lot of
but
ways. So
we're
Getting
waiting,
into it
we're
now.
waiting for that mass adoption because that's when
Yeah.
we're going to cash in.
Right. Yeah.
So
All
It's
right.
pretty awesome to hear.
Yeah, Tri-City Computers, though, we also fix computers.
You
We don't just
do.
do crypto. So
And,
Yes.
and
If
what's
you-
your what's the best way to get a hold of you, Greg?
775-3000. And
Cool,
we're on the
cool.
corner of Spouse Drive and Robert Road in Prescott Valley.
And Steve, how did we get a hold of you?
Email, like I said, Steve at servemany.com, 928-925-9118.
Fantastic. Again, thanks, gentlemen. We really, really do appreciate your time today.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of information. Watch it twice. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Watch
I
it a
learned
couple
so
of times.
much.
I did too, and I'm still gonna have to watch it twice. I'm glad I have to edit this video because I'll get to watch it several times as I do it. So, thank you for watching. Thank
And
you for
y'all
watching.
have a great
And,
day.
Yeah, until next week, I'm
Bye,
Kevin
y'all.
Hoskins with Chris and Maxwell.
Thanks for the invitation.
And
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
see you soon.
Awesome.
Bye, guys.